Lord forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack make it backflip. Telly Hank it with the action. With the vital speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby May. Just caught a touchdown from the bay.
Happening right now, a family is holding two funerals for two brothers killed in a sad string of events.
The 2-year-old was hit by a car while the 15-year-old was accidentally shot while running to help his brother. Jonah Kaplan is live on the city's northwest side with that story for us this morning. Jonah?
Yeah, Bridget, good afternoon. A pleasant good afternoon, everybody. You can see behind me, here's the church, and just look at the crowd of cars as well. I was just inside. It's about standing room only. And you can see, of course, all the side streets have a lot of people parked. Every mourner who enters the church will receive this card. It's actually got 3 faces on it. The 2 of the brothers and the uncle who's suspected of shooting the driver and one of these boys.
Ricky Chiles is suspected in Sunday's shooting, but he is not in police custody.
Yeah, at this point, police are still trying to find him. He has already served time for a bank robbery. Rachel Valiant with details on his past.
The suspect in Sunday's shooting is Ricky Chiles. He's a convicted felon and was not supposed to be in possession of a firearm. On Sunday, April 12th, one tragedy turned into 3 after 2-year-old Damani Terry was struck and killed by a passing van. The driver, 40-year-old Archie Brown, got out and tried to help the child. That's when he was shot and killed. The boy's 15-year-old brother, Rashid Chiles, was also shot and later died during surgery at the hospital. Police think 27-year-old Ricky Chiles pulled the trigger. He's the uncle of the 2 boys. It's thought Rashid Chiles was hit by a stray bullet. Ricky Chiles previously served time behind bars for his role in a 2011 bank robbery. He was released from the Sturtevant Transitional Facility on July 30th, 2013, but was scheduled to remain under extended supervision until August 2nd of this year. He was also not allowed to be in possession of a firearm. Chiles' other run-ins with the law include misdemeanor convictions for resisting or obstructing an officer and 4th-degree sexual assault. According to a criminal complaint for that 2011 bank robbery, law enforcement caught up with Chiles when he got off of a bus in the Omaha, Nebraska area 2 days after that crime. Reporting in the newsroom, Rachel Valiant, Fox 6
Tonight's big story, saving the last shot for himself. The search for a killer is now over.
Ricky Chiles, the man wanted for shooting 2 people in Milwaukee on Sunday, killed himself in suburban Chicago today. As Myra Sanchik reports, it all happened as cops closed in.
40-year-old Archie Brown Jr. killed by a gunshot that seemed to be an instant of murderous revenge Sunday. Brown's vehicle accidentally struck a toddler who ran into the street, killing 2-year-old Damani Terry. As Brown tried to help the child, police say the toddler's uncle, Ricky Chiles, ran over and executed Brown. A stray shot hit the toddler's 15-year-old brother, Rashid Chiles. Rashid later died in the hospital. Wednesday, Milwaukee police issued an arrest warrant for Ricky Chiles for the 2 murders. Sources tell Fox 6 News it happened at the Presidential Motel in Chicago. U.S. Marshals say they entered his rented room, and as they did, Chiles fired 1 shot from his own handgun, killing himself. The father of Archie Brown Jr. says he wanted the chance to see Chiles in court and face the judicial system, but he forgives him.
He thought that he was escaping man's justice. What he didn't realize, he went before God's justice.
There were a dreadful set of circumstances, and there's no question about it. And, you know, our great challenge here is that we've got a subculture of violence out there.
And Chiles was a convicted felon. He wasn't supposed to have any kind of weapon in the first place. He was on extended supervision. Reporting live in Milwaukee, Myra Sanchik, Fox 6 News.
All right, Myra, thank you.
The funerals for Damani Terry, Rashid Chiles, and Ricky Chiles follow nearly 2 weeks of grief and horror that shocked the city.
They all have lost 3, but to have to cope with that is just, that's grief beyond what I think I could handle. And I think I would still do the same if I were in that situation.
2-year-old Damani Terry died when he ran in front of a car driven by Archie Brown Jr. Police say the toddler's uncle shot and killed Brown and in the process shot his nephew, 15-year-old Rashid Chiles. Rashid later died at the hospital.
Well, it's so tragic just to know that there's some good kids around, and he's not one that I knew to be involved in risky behaviors and things, and so this was just such a shock.
Police located the boys' uncle and suspected shooter Ricky Chiles at a hotel in Chicago. Officers say Chiles then committed suicide. Today, his casket sat beside those of his nephews.
I can tell you that knowing the family personally and knowing all of them personally, they are just grieving as a whole. You know, they understand that he did not mean to do what happened to his nephew.
Powell says today's service would only focus on how the three lived, not how they died.
And I know it may seem surprising to people, but no debate at all. The first thing they said, we want them together. You know, they're all going to be laid to rest near one another.
Visitation began this morning at 9 o'clock. The funeral again is just getting underway now. Archie Brown Jr., the driver in this case, he was laid to rest earlier this week. We're live on the city's northwest side. Jonah Kaplan, today's TMJ4.
Hey, what's the word? This shit got Popalot. We back. A whole lot of mob shit going on. All my guys from the city, y'all get in the comment box, run it up. The mob gang in the city. Now, today, I really want to get y'all guys' perspective on a tragic incident that would occur in mid-April of 2015 in the city of Milwaukee, where a chain of events would cost 4 people their lives. Now, the person that I'm going to be covering today is going to be a guy by the name of Ricky Chiles. Now, I could really go into his background, as Ricky Chiles was a convicted bank robber, or actually the getaway driver once I looked up the crime, but I really want to focus on the series of events that would occur on the 4600 block of North 48th Street. Now, as far as what started the series of events is somewhat inexplainable, and to anybody that's a parent, almost unimaginable. Some reports will have a 2-year-old by the name of Damani Terry playing in his front yard. I also read reports where he had snuck away from some sort of gathering that his family had been having in the backyard of a house, and he would find himself in the middle of the road where he would be struck and killed by a 40-year-old man by the name of Archie Brown. Now, Archie Brown, I'm sure, panicked over what he had just done and witnessed, would get out and try to render aid to 2-year-old Damani. Not long after the accident that would injure the 2-year-old, several people would emerge from the house, with one being his uncle, Ricky Chiles, along with his 15-year-old brother, Rashid Chiles. Witnesses would go on to say that as Ricky Chiles was approaching the scene of the accident, he would make the statement that you just signed your death certificate before he would shoot Archie Brown in the head. Though it really isn't explained how, Damani's 15-year-old brother Rashid would also be hit by gunfire. Authorities would arrive to the scene and declare Damani Terry, as well as Archie Brown, deceased. Rashid Chiles would be transported to a nearby hospital for surgery, where he would later die as well. In an article written by the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel on April 12, 2015, they would explain how Archie Brown Jr. committed a hit and run. He and a 15-year-old boy likely would still be alive. In that same article, Archie Brown Sr., the father of the murder victim, would go on to describe his son as an entrepreneur, buying, remodeling, and renting out houses in the area. With authorities able to connect the boys to a house on the same block as the fatal accident, it wouldn't be long before Ricky Chiles' name would come into play. It would be less than a week to where he would be named the shooter after that fatal accident near Milwaukee's northwest side. And it would be a matter of days before U.S. Marshals would track down him and his girlfriend at the Presidential Inn and Suites in Chicago. Authorities would storm his room early on a Thursday morning, attempting to arrest Ricky Chiles, where he would proceed to take his own life. Now, my main purpose for really covering this story is really to try to show you how your emotion can really get you killed, and just the fact of how different people handle different situations. Now, I don't want to go any further without saying RIP to Damani and Rashad, and even Archie Brown, as he tried to do the right thing. And we feel for the family of Damani, Rashad, and Ricky, because just imagine having 3 funerals on one day. But it eerily reminds me of a story that I remember hearing growing up. And it was an incident that would happen in March 18th of 1980 that would involve John Gotti's son, as well as his neighbor, John Farvara. Now, in a series of unfortunate events, John Gotti's son would be outside playing with some other little kids on a mini bike. Now, the child that owned the mini bike was allowing several of his friends to attempt to ride it. It was said that when it was Frank Gotti's turn to ride the bike, without any instructions, he would hop on and dart into the street, where he would be hit and killed by John Gotti's neighbor. Now, if you happen to see any documentaries or any autobiographies following John Gotti, you would see how much this affected not only him, but really his wife. And it would be 4 months to the date of that accident, on July 28th, 1980. When Favreau would be abducted and he would disappear, and they would never hear anything else of him. Now, everybody would go on to accuse John Gotti of that murder, but it just so happened that him and his family would have left for vacation just 3 days before the disappearance of that neighbor. Now, just hearing those 2 scenarios just shows me how certain people will handle certain situations. And it's a lot of emotion to kind of see something like that happen to somebody you love, especially a family member. So I wanted to bring this question to y'all. What are y'all doing in that situation? And I guess it's a hard question to answer, or maybe an easy question to answer now, because you're not really dealing with that emotion right in front of you. So everybody's going to say, yeah, I'm going to stand pat. But how many of y'all are going to stand pat for real? Now, y'all make sure y'all hit that red subscribe button right under this video so y'all know when this real, trill, spill shit is dropping. Y'all get in the comment box, y'all flooded, man. Let me know where we need to go, what stories we need to cover, who we need to talk about, what gangsters we missed, what we got wrong, all that, man. Y'all know I'm here for everything. Shit got Popalot. Make sure y'all follow me on IG, on Twitter, POP_A_LOT. And y'all know the rules. Mob, gang,